Okay. We're recording? Yep. Alright. Hey all you witches and beautiful spiritualists, it's me, Prosperity Witch Ellie. Welcome back. Welcome if you're new. So today's video is an interesting topic, as much of my videos usually are, and that is because today's topic is something that I didn't really see myself filming or talking about, at least for a little bit longer on this channel, only because it's just not something I commonly associate with, or commonly acknowledge rather, and that is planetary magic. So, yeah, today we are talking about planetary magic. Reason being because I have started developing a somewhat bigger interest in the topic at hand, experimenting with it and seeing how it works in my practice, and I will have to say I have seen some genuine results. So yeah, today we're talking about planetary magic, so sit down, grab yourself a drink, maybe a snack, because I never know how long these types of videos are going to be, and let's talk about it. So what is planetary magic? Reading off my notes, the definition or the little explanation that I've come up with is planetary magic is working with the energetic influences of the 7 classical planets, in the sense that each planet carries its own unique energy that supports different kinds of magic, like Venus for love, Jupiter for luck. You get the idea. And essentially, by timing your magic with the planet that is mostly associated with the intention that you are seeking or going for, you are ultimately aligning your working with the energetic force that will give your spell, your manifestation, your ritual, whatever you're doing, a boost. No, it is not exactly astrology, though in my opinion those two things can go hand in hand. It's just more about timing and energetic flow. And from my research, the idea of planetary magic, planetary correspondences for rituals and spell purposes, dates back to the earlier magical systems like the Hermetic system and just magic in the medieval times. But of course, modern practitioners such as myself adapt this idea into their practice as they see fit. I mean, hell, one example of that, I guess, is I, as most of y'all know, don't really care for, waiting for the right time or the right moment to cast a spell. If I feel a spell is needed, if I feel something is needed in my practice, I will do it right then and there because I feel it's needed. But again, I've been experimenting with doing certain rituals and practices on certain days, and I've seen results, so that's why I'm making this video. Okay, so what are the energies associated with the planets? Well, they are the following. So firstly, the first planet, if you will, that I'm going to be talking about is one that I've talked about quite a few times on this channel, so I'll leave those videos up in a card and down below, and that is the sun, or solar energy. The sun is best worked with on Sunday, hence the name Sunday, Sunday. And from what I've researched and what I've experienced, the best energies that you will find that are amplified around this time are that of vitality, success, illumination, and in some cases, domination. So the next planet, if you will, again, on this list is the moon, and that is best worked with on a Monday. Monday, moon day. You see the pattern here? When working with the moon on a Monday, the energies that you will find that are greatly amplified are those that deal with emotions, intuition, and anything that's essentially inner working. So hidden paths, hidden figures, things hidden in the dark, now coming to the light, things like that. Tuesdays are really good for working with the planet of Mars, which I've recently learned is really good when it comes to workings that involve action, courage, and protection, and in some cases, passion, but more in the fiery aspect. So think of it like this. If I were to do a spell or a working of some sort that involves getting me more amplified, motivated, and driven, I would more than likely do it on a Tuesday. So Wednesdays are really good for working with the planet of Mercury, which is the planet of communication, commerce, intellect, learning, and things of that nature. So anything that is like word of mouth, promoting something, or getting something out there is best worked with on a Wednesday. And of course, we have Thursdays, which are associated with the planet of Jupiter, and Jupiter is the planet of luck, prosperity, abundance, success, and things like that. Hence why you will commonly find me doing my prosperity working at my prosperity altar on a Thursday. And Fridays are for Venus, Venus being the planet of love, beauty, romance, and passion in that regard. Finally, Saturdays are for Saturn. Saturn is a good planet to work with when you're trying to do banishing workings, bindings, basically any working that involves discipline, boundaries, and even in some cases warding. Actually, yeah, I would say when you're warding, it probably will do well on a Saturday. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I wrote all that down and that was for whatever reason hard for me to get through. So give me some likes for that. And of course, when it comes to planetary magic, not only are there days associated with the planets, but there are planetary hours. I will admit, I have not worked with a planetary hour yet, though I want to experiment with it, so we'll see. However, the general consensus is that each day is also divided into planetary hours, which normally starts at sunrise. So essentially, the ruling planet of that day, it is that planet's planetary hour at sunrise. I know, that was a mouthful. Bear with me. If you guys are interested in tracking things like that, there are plenty of apps in your app stores. I have one for tracking lunar phases, but it also tracks planetary days and hours. And honestly, just try experimenting like I've been doing. If you're doing a love style working, and I don't mean of the romance variety, just like self-love or even romance, yeah, on a Friday, try also doing it at sunrise and let me know how that goes. Okay, moving on from my vomit of words right there, let's talk about my personal experience, because I do have some that I'd like to share. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I didn't really care for aligning my workings, my spells with certain days or hours. Still kind of don't. I will still do it whenever I feel I need, but I've at least recently been working into routines of mine, doing certain types of working on certain days, like, as I said, my prosperity magic on a Thursday. And I will admit, I have seen some results, like I've seen an influx in clientele for my side hustle, my readings, my bone readings, tarot readings, and my spell consultations. And not only do I use prosperity magic for financial reasons, but I also use it for giving myself a boost in luck and success in a lot of my everyday endeavors. And like I said, I wish I can go into further detail, but you know, my life is my life. But like I said, I've definitely seen a greater amplified experience, if you will, in terms of luck and prosperity and things like that when I do my magic on a Thursday. But of course, I could never stress this enough. You don't have to do a certain type of working on a certain day or hour. If you feel drawn to do a certain working when you do it. There's no harm in it. I'm just making this video to share my experience in experimenting with planetary magic and how it's going. So on that note, let's talk about how to work planetary magic into one's practice. So I will say, kind of like how I've been doing with Jupiter and Thursdays and prosperity magic, choose a certain planet to work with on a certain day, you know, and just start with that at first and gradually build up. And align it with your everyday or weekly routines. Self-care Fridays for Venus, or planning and scheduling for Wednesdays, and again, as I said, success, financial, and prosperity workings overall on a Thursday for Jupiter. Do your research and of course dive into what associations, what colors, what candles, what scents, herbs, smells, etc. align best with that planet on that day. And like I said, experiment with it. Choose that herb, choose that candle, work with it on the day that is associated with those two herbs and candles and that planet, and see what happens. Because honestly, the worst thing that can happen is that nothing will happen. Okay, so I feel like now is a good time to say this. In the description below, I have included various books and websites for resources for those of you who wish to explore this topic further. However, I have rambled on to the point where my voice is starting to sound raspy to me. So I think it's time for me to close out this video, say my final remarks, and push you guys on your way. And so, like I said, the last things I will leave you with is the following, and that is planetary timing is an optional, but from what I've experienced, very successful, very powerful even addition to spellwork. It is a common practice and a very old practice at that, like I said, dating back to the Hermetic and medieval times, but there's a reason why it's still around. But again, that's enough of that. I feel like I've rambled on for a good bit, so if you enjoyed, leave a like, comment down below anything and everything to do with planetary style magic, including timings, associations, things of that nature if you've done any of it, and let's have a discussion about it. Share this video with anyone who is interested in the topic of planetary associations and what they could learn from it, and of course, subscribe for more in the future. And as always, y'all, make wise choices, make delicious pizza, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye!